Thank you, Zoom. Welcome to our AmpCoil community call for June 2nd, 2021. We've got a lovely 23 human beings on this call who have dedicated an hour to be with us and our community members. And just so we're clear, we'll be all on the same page. One thing that we've been doing is just taking a couple minutes before we get started, and as we add all these calls and so many different ways to connect with AmpCoil, I think it's valuable just to review and read and revisit what each individual call can be used for and known for. This is our community call now. We just missed, I think Gail was on with me, and maybe who else was on that call with me? We had a couple of new people discovering AmpCoil. We just did our discovery call. Suzanne and Gail were both on that call. And what we do is we go over people looking to experience AmpCoil, get their first session. We kind of go through the history of the technology, and that is bi-weekly on Wednesdays at this point, so you can register for that. And so that's always Wednesday, every other Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then the community circle call, on this call, and I'll just read our description, we offer a chance to share and hear your AmpCoil wins and experiences from owners and community members. So we believe in building community can be an integral piece of the wellness process, and continuing to witness the power of what other people are going through. It can add support. It can add a positive narrative to what you're experiencing. It can add perspective and actually hold up a mirror of what people are experiencing. And so anything and everything is on the table. Anything that you want to bring to this call as an AmpCoil owner or as somebody wanting to learn more about AmpCoil, it could be a question to the community of users. The one thing I'll say is that we tend to say usage questions, what to coil, the granular questions on how to do a cleanse or what items to include. We'll save all those for the Thursday support call, and we'll save those for the Friday call, which is a new user call and a Q&A every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that being said, let's just, hi, Dr. Lou, how you doing? Dr. Backbones, that's a chiropractor screen name.
Hi, Freddie, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good, and where are you reaching us today?
I am in South Carolina.
You're in South Carolina, beautiful. Now, are you practicing down there?
No, not yet.
No, not yet, just living.
Some people here and there.
Okay.
Taking care of some people here and there.
Good. And are you getting a chance to take care of yourself with your AmpCoil?
I sure am.
I am. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Lou, what's your go-to for your weekly cadence? What are you doing to support your body? Maybe if you could tell us what you're doing with AmpCoil, what are some other tried and tested things that you always incorporate to just keep your energetic field robust in these unique times?
Of course, I get adjusted. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now I can. Yep. You cut out for a second.
Yeah, I know it's cutting out here too. Okay, so I get adjusted. I do a lot of cold plunging. I do a lot of, sometimes I've used energetic waters. Mm-hmm. I take a supplement that is microdaily, an EMF supplement, and doing my regular yoga routine. Use my infrared sauna, and I have an amazing laser that I use on myself.
Amazing. And what are you running weekly on your AmpCoil?
I usually do nutrition, as that's a go-to for me. That I really like that. Sometimes I'm running the higher self, mm-hmm. and running that with my water sometimes as well. Mm-hmm. And I drop into a lot of the deep sleep, so I can make sure I'm really getting some deep sleep. I also use the brain tap, but I just thought about that. And on the AmpCoil though, I switch it up, relax all, depending on what's going on that day.
Awesome. And Dr. Lou, do you track your sleep, or you tracked any of your metrics to see how you're doing, or do you just go by feel?
Yeah, I do. I have I have a HRV screen that scan that I can do that tracks everything
Mm-hmm.
as I
Great.
go.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it. Super helpful. And do you want to share any AmpCoil wins or anything that's happened in your life with AmpCoil to the community?
Sure. Yeah, I had my business partner is she had neurological Lyme, and that's how I was actually introduced to AmpCoil. I started using it on her, and I saw some amazing changes happen as far as her physiological health, even her emotional health, her ability to get into sleep and heal, and she's doing fantastic. So that's what got
Amazing.
me into the AmpCoil. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful win. Thank you, Dr. Lou.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right. Does anybody else want to go? We have Elizabeth. Hi. Hi, Karen. How you doing? Did you want to unmute?
Yeah, I have one more thing I want to add.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Lou.
Okay, so recently I had gotten run down for lack of taking care of myself for a little bit. Had a lot of other people that I was putting first.
Mm-hmm.
And I started using the AmpCoil for the upper respiratory and lower respiratory.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, amazing ability to just use it and then be able to sleep at night without coughing. And so that was an incredible experience for me to see.
One of my favorite journeys.
I had to add that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Okay, Karen, go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, Karen, your microphone. That
What?
sounds wonderful. Listen to that sound quality. That's like music to my ears.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. My question is, for the very first time, I did the pain release after I did my general detox or whatever the monthly thing is that I do, and using the voice print. And I couldn't believe I actually felt pain relief. I'd done pain relief before, and it has not created that same like relief that I hope for. So I was just wondering, and my husband doesn't do the voice print, and so he does the pain relief one. But someone had said it a long time ago that it might not work unless you do the voice print to detox as well. So I'm just wondering, did that detox help my pain release, um, or what is the usual protocol that I should be using to get that kind of pain relief every single time that I decide to use it for pain?
Yeah, I think it's so unique how we always say a great example of this would be the voice print, that the voice print is like 20 horses in the Kentucky Derby. If you kept running the race, you're always going to have horses out in front. So what your body is experiencing that day and what could be driving the pain is going to be different every day. The other example that I'll give you from functional medicine is when I have a client and I give them if I do a constant glucose blood monitor and we eat the same meal on Wednesday and Friday, insulin spikes are different with the same carbs, same micronutrients, because that person's stress profile is different. So how they respond to a blood sugar situation. So something as little as that, seeing big changes in biochemistry and knowing an effect, it could be driven by stress, hydration, how they slept the night before, huge factor in how your body responds. So I would kind of look at, for me, if I were you and I were having that, my little N=1 experiment, I would write down how I slept the night before. I might take a look at what I ate. I might take a look at what my stress level was. Again, put your hand on your heart, tap in. I'm a 0 to a 10, 10 being like, I'm going to explode, 0 being like, I'm just floating around the room, and just see where you're at. And maybe you can kind of try to recreate that scenario. I was talking to someone today. I think I offered this on the Facebook community page. They said, I'm having a really hard time with my, what was it, mast cell activation, and I'm overreacting to even my supplements. And I said, when I'm in an overreactive state, that's total made up word. When I'm overreactive, Overreactive area doesn't really work. When I'm overreactive, I need to get outside and I need to walk for 45 minutes barefoot. And then my body just calms down, and then I'll coil. So I did that today because I had a super stressful day the last 2 days. So I've been diligent to just start my morning right out of the gate, 45 minutes. So you got to think about it. What's happening if we follow the work of Clint Ober? What Clint says is that we're getting an electron exchange, and after 45 minutes, the electrons from the earth through the bottom of our porous feet is starting to reach the heart center. So that's only going to amplify anything you're doing with the magnetic fields and the sound. So I would be boosting both of those. The other thing that I offered to another person yesterday in the community page was really double down on your hydration game. You know, this is something where I see the stats say 80% of Americans are dehydrated. If we're going to go ask an extra task of our mitochondria with the coil, how can you not support it with hydration? So it just makes really good sense. And that's going to change how you have an experience before or after the coil. And so with that being said, what's your water game look like? Is your water filtered? That's the base. And then is your water have minerals in it? If you're filtering with a reverse osmosis or some membrane to get all the really bad stuff out of the water, then it's dead of minerals. And the water doesn't have a lot of hydration properties. You know, has the water been, you can pray over your water and upregulate it. That really does work, scientifically tested, to say, write a little piece of prayer on a paper and put it next to your water. It'll change the properties of the water. You could structure your water in a spinning little vortex. There's so many things you could do to it. So my point is try to see what the supportive therapies you could do around the pain journey. Do it 2 to 3 times and see if you can't recreate that for yourself. And then report back next community call. So we'll call on you because that'll be helpful for everybody.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Freddie.
Awesome. Yeah, great question. Great ad. Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking. Anybody can do a *6 and unmute, or you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you, and you can add to our community goodness of deep thoughts here today. Oh, thank you, Becky. Wonderful. Yeah, of course.
I've got something to add.
Please, Marjorie.
So I had a client come to me probably 3 months ago with a rash, and I think I told this story before. She was told it was dermatitis, even though she told the doctor she had a tick bite. And she came to me, and I did programs for her. Actually, one program, and the next day her rash disappeared. And she acquired an AmpCoil, and she's been using it. She got a tick bite again, was texting me, what do I do? She was panicking, and I said, listen, you've got a tool now. You don't have to be anxious anymore. Told her what to do. She texted me again today, said her son had a tick bite. We're here in
oh my goodness.
Here. And she says, she said something to the effect that she's not nervous anymore. I was able to stay calm and remove the tick without fear, knowing that we could use the AmpCoil if needed. So just to say that this is a device that gives you reassurance, it gives you peace. It really takes away some of the concerns we used to have about, do I go to the ER? Do I go to urgent care? Do I wait? Do I, get a test? Do I get the tick tested?
Yeah.
You may still all want to do anyway, but I'm just saying that we have a tool, folks.
Yeah, it might be a both and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Becky. I'll just add that I echo that. I actually personally had the same experience. My daughter, my youngest is 9 now, but when she was about 6, she had gone to a family reunion with my husband, and it's that look, right? It was about 10 days after she got back, and she's walking towards me, and my eyes get bigger and bigger, and I see that bullseye, and I'm like, that's a bullseye, right? And you kind of go into like panic mode. And so we did a lot of different things. I work with homeopathics and herbals and such, but we did do the antibiotic at that point. And she was symptomatic, so we did all that. But a year later, she had another bullseye. And it's interesting because, you know, being a naturopath and in my communities and being Lyme literate, I have to tell people, well, the standard recommendation is, you know, you go get the antibiotics. And, you know, that's really hard for us not to do. And I would still tell everybody to do that. But I didn't do that second time. And people started asking me why. And I was like, well, we did it a year ago. And I had the homeopathics and the herbals, and I have this AmpCoil. But a lot of people don't have that. So I echo what was just said, that it is a amazing tool. And my daughter didn't become symptomatic, and we were able to knock it out quickly and take care of that. But it's just that difference of being able to have something in your home or in your office or whatever that you can just use right away. And maybe they still do need the antibiotic. You know, we all have to, and I genuinely mean that. You know, sometimes people really do need that antibiotic, or at least we need to recommend that. But for us, it was just so powerful to be able to have that tool. And sometimes it just makes me sad that other people don't have it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think that's
Hi, guys.
it's a good reminder to share, you know, to share your AmpCoil. I'm constantly inviting people over to Coil and remind, you know, now my new community, you know, my new town I'm in, my new community, I'm like, hey, I've got an AmpCoil here. So even my building that I live in, there's like, you know, there's like 250 residents here. I'm like always posting on the thing. I'm like, come, who's ever, if you can't sleep, if you want to run deep sleep, if you drank too much wine, I got something for that too. If you're feeling really anxious, got something for that. So, you know, it can just be these like little nice conversations, and it's a great conversation starter to make friends. It does not have to be your AmpCoil business. It can just be to make friends, which is just super, what a great way to start a friendship.
Freddie, this is Lori.
Hi, Lori.
What a great tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
That's all that, I mean, you know, and to have it, you know, especially if you're a doctor, you know, it's the secret sauce. But, you know, especially with Lyme, I don't know if anybody's been following the news lately, but ticks are up like so high in California, in the Dakota, everywhere, all over the country. And there was just a thing on last night, and it showed a woman pulling like 20 ticks off of her dog and herself. And, you know, and so talk about a tool in the toolbox. I mean, even if you're not bit and you want to just do a little Lyme sweep of just, you know, maybe you find ticks all over you and all over your dog, put your dog on your lap and, you know, run something for Borrelia, just basic Lyme, just run, you know, 7 minutes and a cleanse of some sort, whether, you know, it's an abbreviated cleanse twice a day for a couple days, and get your 4 times in. And then, you know, it's, you know, you don't have to wait for the symptoms to start, but it's, you know, it's just a great tool to have. So.
Lori, can I ask you another question, which I thought was a really good one today? We had a woman on the previous webinar had asked, you know, if we're a family and our kids are choosing to do, and Becky sort of touched on this, kids are choosing to do IVIG or antibiotics. How do you support people from the support team with the AmpCoil at the same time if it's a both and situation?
Well, it just depends on how they're handling the antibiotics. If they're handling the antibiotics and they're not detoxing at all, then sure, you could assist the antibiotics. If they're detoxing, then you have to, you know, you have to be really careful and do an abbreviated cleanse, a lot shorter, maybe just toxins and poisons. You know, there's going to be a lot more die-off with the antibiotics, and the AmpCoil can definitely assist, but you also don't want it to push somebody over the edge for detox reactions. So there's no normal, you know, following the quick start guide if you're taking the antibiotics. It's slower than slow, and it's rejuvenating journeys. And maybe you just go in and you run the primer and you run, you know, the boosts and see how they do. Or you run just toxins and poisons, because how many toxins and poisons are going to be coming out of the body if you're on antibiotics? You know, besides the toxins and poisons from the antibiotics. but the die-off itself, so detox and cysts and toxins and poisons would be a great thing to do. You just got to go really, really slow. I wouldn't necessarily say do heavy cleansing, but there's so much support you could do by just running, other parts of the cleanse or detox and cyst or relax all. I mean, maybe you run the emotions in general detox, or the lymphatics. Lymphatics matched with circulation in general detox get stuff moving through the system. So you could run lymphatics and then circulation 5 and get that, get things moving through. So you would just want to open up all the channels as much as you can. And if you can assist with a little more extra, that's great, but certainly not a full cleanse.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Lori. And then we've got 2 hands. I got one from Rebecca. Rebecca. Oh, Rebecca, can you go a little closer to your microphone?
I didn't realize it was on my speaker.
Perfect. You nailed it. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, this was on what you're all talking about previously, the peace of mind. It's not to do with, tick-borne illness, although that is a huge one, but to have all these tick-borne illnesses, autoimmune disorders, and then I got COVID. So yeah, I was in a bad place, but like, I also thought to myself right away, run wellness. We've got the wellness 2020 on there. I ran the airways, I ran the wellness. Yeah, and I got bad. It turned into pneumonia. But and I needed assist, I needed antibiotics and steroids, but I kept myself out of the hospital, which was my goal. I knew if I went in the hospital, it's all over. I got to take care of this at home. And I got better around the same time as my husband did, even though he's healthy. So that really was a game changer for me with having COVID. And I don't think it would have been the same without that. I might have wound up in the hospital and in a bad situation. So
you want to share what else happened recently, Rebecca?
Oh, yeah, I was one of the ones who was posted the mast cell reaction yesterday, and I've been reactionary, however you want to say it, since COVID. So I am still, there's a lot of stuff going on in my body that was previously taken care of and dampened, that's coming back out to play. So last night was a really bad response, and I was drenched in sweat. I was cold and clammy, but just drenched in sweat and itching. I wasn't quite sure what to do for that situation, and Marjorie said, run the toxins and poisons, both of them, 1 and 2. I ran. Yeah, and it was already starting to calm down before the session was even done. Wow. So that was amazing, because I had taken my DAO enzyme, my histamine blocker, nothing was working, and I was trying not to freak out, but yeah, that was a life saver right there. Now I know what to do if I react again.
And I know Marie from support also has had a lot of success with, working through some of those items. So it can be really, really helpful to connect with some of those wonderful, everybody in our support team, I always remind, everybody's been well-versed through life experience and working with so many people that they do have great suggestions. And then the quickest way to get that response is through that live chat right on your tablet.
I think this was later at night, but yeah, usually.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, it was after 8, I think. So I was like,
yeah, and that's where we have our wonderful ambassadors like Marjorie.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Marjorie.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Marjorie. And great win, Rebecca. Great win. Becky, did you want to go again, or is that hand up from previous?
I have a question, actually.
Okay,
and fantastic. Thank you for sharing what you just shared, and I'm really glad you stayed out of the hospital. So, and this might be a question that you might actually tell me to go to support for, but this is another daughter of mine. She's 21, and she does have Lyme and such, but she suffered a significant medical injury about 6.5 years ago, where the doctor really wiped out her mitochondria. So she didn't have mitochondrial myopathy, but he induced it. So it's been a very sensitive situation, and we finally had gotten to the point where we were able to do more with the coil for her. Like, she couldn't even do Relaxol because it relaxed her brain too much. Like we couldn't do Relaxol. So for, I think, almost a year, all we did was organs and nutrition with her. So recently I went ahead, because she's gotten stronger and she was having some respiratory issues. And so I did the cleanse, the first one, the airways. And since that
general detox.
Pardon?
In a general detox, step one of the general detox.
Yes, general detox, just the number one. And I had been doing demo harmonizer with her actually about every 2 to 3 days for about a week and a half. I'm just kind of like on intuition. And she actually was doing really well with it. Since I did the airway with her, which has probably now been about a week, she has not recovered from that. And I went and ran demo harmonizer again, and she just keeps asking me, why am I so tired, Mom? Why am I so exhausted? And so, I've been trying to work, with the homeopathy and supplements and doing demo harmonizer, but it's occurring to me that there's probably another program that I should be running on her. And maybe you guys know. Like, she just keeps saying, why am I so tired? Why do I not have any energy? And it's all been since I ran that airway program. So obviously I'm not going back to general detox for her, but
well, and it might not be that, what I would, and I know Lori's going to echo me here, is that it sounds like it's a very specific situation, which we should connect you with support for. Two things: if it really is, if was mitochondrial damage induced by a physician, then that's something that the pulse electromagnetic field can benefit. But if you're working with a limited amount of nanomotors in the cell to break apart ATP, then it's a different equation that you're going to be working with. So I think when we talk, if we look at the pre and post, hold on, I'm going to mute Gary there.
Yeah.
There we go. If we look at the, if we look at the data from like doing a before and after of Relaxol or demo harmonizer, not everybody responds great to all journeys. Sometimes it's too much to ask of the body. So it sounds like with your daughter's pre-existing condition, that it's quite possible that the detox step was too much of an ask energetically.
Yeah.
And that to maybe stick to those rejuvenating, but I would get on, I would message support and go over those issues. And then, I would just be looking for other ways you could also support and rebuild the mitochondria. There are a couple of good things out there right now.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. So she's definitely one of her specialists. We love him. He says she's just a rare bird. Like, he will literally call the interns and the residents in and say, don't treat her like anybody else. She's a rare bird. So that's where the calling support is probably a good idea. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And you can message me. I might have some other thoughts too, Becky. All right.
Can I share something, Freddie?
I'd love you to share, Kathy.
Okay, so we reopened the barn, and this woman came today that she's very, very sick. I've only seen one other person in this, well, two other people, and one other person actually passed away after I saw him. I got to him too late. So this woman has been sick for a long time, and she was going to be part of the pilot study that we were hoping to do before when COVID shut everything down. And so basically she came in today, and she was very, very weak and she has to be driven. She's about 80 pounds.
Mm.
And I'm just going to say one thing. We had to lay her down. She wanted to stand in coil because she's in so much pain, and we couldn't get her into a zero gravity chair because
Mhm.
she's in too much pain. So we laid her on the couch. We had to hold her to put her into the position, and her nervous system is just so whacked that I was trying to figure, like, should I just run Relaxol just to see if she can calm down a little bit, or do I go right to the pain? And I started with Relaxol, but I was doubting myself. And as she's lying on her side, I'm talking to her a little bit, talking to her, and she's clearly in total flight or fight. And she says, the pain is it's so bad. And so at the last minute, I switched. Relaxol had started, and I just got a very big hit, like just run the pain release for this woman. So I ran the pain release, and it was really hard to keep her there for the 30 minutes. But there were other people coiling. So of course, everybody is helping and talking, and the dog was there, which helped. And
Mhm.
so she got through, and there was a brief moment of clarity. And I had said, what are you at? She's like 10 pain, 10 pain, 10 pain, right? Blah, blah, blah. So we got her up, and she was wobbly, and we were holding on to her, and I got her to focus on me. And I said, right now, Marguerite, what's the pain? And she said, I have none.
Mhm.
I have none. Now, of course, the looping, it jumped back in, and it was like this, it was this moment of clarity where she looked into my eyes and she said, I have none.
Wow.
And she went back into her story of how much pain she had been in and how sick she is really quickly. But it was absolutely remarkable. And the people, everybody who was in the room, there were 5 people in the room, everyone just stopped over because it was just remarkable.
Mm.
It was just remarkable. So, I mean, she's skin and bones and 80 pounds, really, really sick. And I don't know, I have tremendous hope that it can help her. We have to have someone drive her. She can't afford it, nothing, all that stuff. But like, I don't care if I have to drive to her house. I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to see if we can get her some relief because, she just kept crying and saying, I will pay it forward. I will pay it forward. If I get well, I will help other people, and that's like all you need to hear.
Mhm.
So anyway, and I just also wanted to say that Dr. Luann, I was with Dr. Luann at the beginning of that situation with her very dear friend who was very sick, and in her house while she was on the phone with the hospital, in the room with the doc, and to see the shift in that human being, it just gives me hope, and it makes me keep doing what I'm doing and keep showing up. So that's it. I just wanted to tell you that little story.
That's a great story.
She said no pain, and she meant it, even though she changed her mind.
I know. It's hard. It's really, really hard. It's really, really hard. I mean, I get those, probably every 2 weeks, somebody calls in and it's that extreme of a story. And I had one on Saturday, a woman that was like a naturopathic doctor who's been on my show and very, very well known. And she's been very, very sick for almost 18 months, mysterious illness, high ERMI score in the home. Is it neurological Lyme? Nobody knows. They can't figure out a test. She's got 85 different opinions. She's got all the access to all the money and all the healing in the world. They've raised like $100,000 and she just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And so she's like, is the AmpCoil going to help me? Is it going to help me? Is it going to help me? I'm like, the best thing I can do is send an ambassador to your house. And of course we have like an amazing ambassador, not even ambassador in training, in the in the Arizona area who's going to drive, 45 minutes to this woman's house, and we're gonna do our best. I'm like, I'm like, nothing you're doing is working now. I don't know why you wouldn't try this and add it into all the supportive therapies. She doesn't want to leave her home. She's tired. There's all the neurological conditions that are making her feel unsafe. Like she doesn't want to go anywhere. So it does get complicated. And I think that's where, as people who are ambassadors, or if you have your AmpCoil, if you're not yet an ambassador, I think that's one of the cool things about the community building is learning how to support people. And it doesn't matter what they're going through. You can support people that are really in really, really challenging conditions. Like Kathy just said, it's sound in it's magnetism is sound. It's not something that is going to hurt you, especially if you're going to play one of those great 5 initial journeys.
Do you have to be healed yourself of everything before
No. Do you have to be perfectly put together to help another human being? No.
Because I know we're all doing really, really well, and I'm still struggling. So I didn't know if I should train.
Listen, I think that is part of your healing journey. I am in no way done with I will never be done with all the health things that I am been handed and gifted, but I continue to work through them. I help people. I am not perfect. Believe me, there are things. It's always going to be something. You're going to go through different layers and different levels. You're going to go through times where you feel amazing and all your symptoms are gone. And then you're going to have, we just went through a global pandemic where we didn't see anybody's face for a whole year. Tell me the psychological cost that has on your nervous system. There's a big cost to just that. So it's always going to be something. We're always going to be challenged. And then you're going to work through whatever you can work through. But I think it's really a personal choice, Rebecca. It's whenever you feel you're up for it. But I personally find I feel better after I do it. I'm not even coiling. I'm coiling somebody else. I feel better after they're done. Yeah.
I just thought, because we wouldn't really have I was like, well, I don't have a story saying, I'm in Lyme remission or anything, but I guess you just use like the stories I just told, maybe like these small little steps. I guess you could show people, because people are going to want to know, like, well, where are you in your healing journey? Is it working for you?
Yeah.
And I've still got a long way to go, and that's okay.
Yeah. And Lee asked, who is the pay it forward person? That was Kathy Wheelahan, Lee. She's you can message Kathy Wheelahan in the chat if you want.
The other thing I just want to say is I always come back to the community, but this woman came through 3 people. So the 2 people that were in the Lyme to Wellness pilot, and they have been talking to her for over a year, trying to get her to come to do an AmpCoil treatment. And when she came, the sweet part was like, she just talked about Mike Watkins, and she talked about Heather Copeland, and she talked about David Bryce, and she talked about the people in the community who were willing to talk to her and were willing to have like conversations with her about their lived experience with the AmpCoil. And that's what ultimately brought her through the door. And she was like, I talked to all these people and they came here and they got better, like and I think that that's the beautiful thing about the community, is that we're all helping each other. And like Luann just said, I just went through a chronic fatigue, I just got really tired and I had to get back on my self-care regimen. I'm heating up the sauna because I'm going to go. That's staying connected in community and talking about it and being able to reach out. It's not an expectation that just because I'm an ambassador seeing people that somehow I have all my shit together all the time and feel good all the time. No, it's that I'm real and I share my lived experience and I work with other people and we help each other. I think that's what's really important.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
I was just going to add, Freddie, too. It, the people like, so many similar stories, but the people that have been coming to see me in my little place recently, I mean, they're super impressed that they get off the coil and they're like, God, I just feel so relaxed. Like, this thing's amazing. It works. Or like, oh my gosh, my foot that's been in pain for 10 years isn't in pain right now. And like, they're not, you didn't just cure whatever they have. They're not all better, but they're so stoked to just have like that win, you know, or that symptom relief, whatever is going on at the time. So I think I'm talking a little bit to Rebecca because I went through, you know, all last year, that whole idea of like, I don't know, just being nervous about how to approach, you know, people about this or talk about it, or like, oh, I don't know, are they going to really, like, is it going to be impactful enough? Or, you know, and I'm not sure that people really have to be convinced that it's going to, you know, just cure everything that ails them. I know for me, you know, 3 years ago when I was really in the throes of it, if I had a strong idea that even 2 of my symptoms were going to go away, you know, out of like 100 symptoms, that's 2 symptoms that I would have been really happy to have go away. You know, that's a big deal for people.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal.
I'll-
And you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. I'll share really quick too, because it's on topic from earlier. I was laughing. I think it was also Rebecca that was like, the goal is to stay out of the hospital. And I'm like, amen. That has been my goal ever since I graduated nursing school. I was like, I don't ever want to be in the hospital. But I've just been going about my business this week. And all of a sudden today, I left an appointment, driving to the grocery store perfectly fine. And I started getting abdominal pain, like flank pain, like 8 out of 10 in my car. Like, I was like, am I going to have to go to the ER right now? Like, what is happening? And it went on for over an hour. I'm just like trying to get home. And I seriously was like, am I going to have to go somewhere? And then in my brain, I was like, of course I'm not. I'm going to go home and I'm going to coil. Like, why would I go to the ER when I own an AmpCoil? And I totally did. I came home and I'm literally still like hot, like something's going on in my body. But
Wow.
I did a voice print, and my gallbladder liver exact spot where my pain was my top hit. So I'm like, I'm just gonna knock out a few organs, and then I rolled into my cleanse, and now I'm really out of it because this is me after AmpCoil. I get really in the zone. Like, I can't wait to sleep good tonight. But it's just funny. It's that same mentality of just, yeah, what a great tool to have around for literally everything.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And there's so many ways to integrate it into all the other things you're doing. I think it's really interesting to me to consider, like, what is the both and conversation around, you know, we know we've got to get your lifestyle in alignment, and people have to get, you know, it's not going to change your perception to stress. You're going to get a break from stress. If we play Relax All, that's what we see on the heart rate variability. We see with your beneficial brainwave states, we see the nervous system go into relaxed mode. But then if you're not going to make, you know, you're going to take that little bit of awareness or that energy to make the changes that are appropriate, that you need to create a new environment that's not going to just build that stress up again. You've got to, it's the life choice, the lifestyle choices.
And for me, Relax All was like the gateway to making better choices.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. I always, and just to build on that, everybody's going to have, you're going to find your journey. I think there's so many times people are like, oh, I've never played that. I've never played that. You know, get your tablet out, experiment, play something you've never played. That's a fun one too. You know, I know I did general detox one time, and I pretty much hang around housing 14, 15, motions 22, 23, circulation 2 sometimes. That's about it. Like, I just, you know, there's a lot of, remember, every single organ, your body is your organ systems. If you can make the organ systems work better and communicate better, nervous system and functionality, that's the body self-healing. So I would always be looking at those and seeing what ones, be like, what ones have I totally ignored? Did we have a hand raised? Oh yes, Karen, go ahead.
So I was wondering, can you run AmpCoil? I know it's a standalone process, but while you're doing other energy work on the massage table, can you run a journey or something like Relax All or brain reboot or while you're doing things, or should it be just standalone?
My answer, if you were going to give someone like their first AmpCoil session and let them try it out, you would just want to do the AmpCoil session, but you can really do whatever you want. It's really up to you. You know, if it's. Go ahead, Lori.
Sorry, Freddie. I had a unbelievable massage where my massage practitioner bought an AmpCoil, and you know, I had been coiling for a couple of years already, so I knew the feeling. But she stuck it in the cradle underneath the cradle holder underneath the table, and ran Relaxol while she was doing the massage, and oh my God. So yeah, you know, I mean, you definitely, if somebody wants to experience it, you know, on its own, you could do that, but there's nothing better than Relaxol, a demo harmonizer, you know, or pain relief. You could, you know, just run that and keep it in the cradle, right? There's a cradle holder right underneath the table, so it's a perfect spot.
That's awesome. Idea. All right. Thank you very much, Freddie and Lori. That's awesome. Thank you.
Totally. And I have people that will do they'll put their red light on. You know, they'll put the red light on, maybe they'll do their shins or the bottom of their feet, and they'll coil. You know, I'll stack things once in a while. It just really depends on what you want to achieve and what feels good on your body. Certain people are going to be overwhelmed by that. Certain people are going to benefit from that. So you can, of course, you know, listen and what feels resonant and right for you. Great. Another great question. Anybody else as we wind down here? We got about 5 minutes left. I'm looking. Gary, do you want to say something? Or did you just unmute? I think you just unmuted.
Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted, Gary.
So, sorry about that. I was walking around with my phone in my pocket. So.
Uh-oh, Gary, we can't quite hear you. You're just breaking up a little bit. Maybe walk closer to your Wi-Fi signal.
Okay. I just said I had a question earlier, but it went away, so I'm good.
It went
Thank
away.
you.
No worries. No worries. Does anybody else want to say anything? Nancy and Mary and Sonia and Bob Minden and Leah. Anybody?
I would like to say something.
Go ahead, Lori.
I would like to just take this minute to remind everybody that next Thursday, I guess. So we're here in the circle. Next Thursday at 11 o'clock is the Ask Your Questions to Support call, the webinar. If you go onto the event page on AmpCoil.com, you can sign up and ask me any questions that you want for an hour. So it's a great learning experience for everybody.
That's a great reminder. And as another reminder, that call will not be recorded. That's not going to be recorded because people are going to be asking things about their individual wellness journeys. And so we're going to keep that call private. You can get on there and you can talk about anything you want in AmpCoil. So that's a great opportunity to get on with just support questions live. I would spread that news, whether it's you or it's somebody in your community with an AmpCoil. That's 11 a.m. It's 11 a.m. Pacific, correct, Lori?
That is correct.
Correct, yes. 11 a.m. Pacific. And if you go to ampcoil.com/events, we can get to that link. That link will take you to the Owner's Help Center. That is not every Thursday, Sheila. That is the second Thursday of the month with support. But then every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern is a new user call, very much geared towards new user. But the last 20 minutes is a Q&A. So that's another, you know, you do have a weekly opportunity to always get on there and do that. And it might be, you never know what you're going to hear for the first time that's going to be beneficial. And Maria's hosting that call and just doing an awesome job of that. So the only other thing I'll say is that we mentioned if you wanted to explore this idea of being an ambassador, you're not an ambassador yet, you can send an email to ambassadors, plural, @ampcoil.com. And we've got a couple different trainings, like a level 1 and a level 2. Level 2 means when people call into AmpCoil, we'll call you and see if you want to have a demo in your house. So that's also an opportunity. And then the last thing I'll say is that was it. We're going to close this one down. This was a great call, great shares. So inspiring to hear everybody's honest, heartfelt ability just to be present. And we really do appreciate people taking time to get on this call. We know how busy everybody is, but this is what it's about. It's about building community. I talk about this all the time with people on the phone. I think it's such a special situation, such a great thing that we continue to do, and you guys make it special. The email for the ambassador training is ambassadors@ampcoil.com. So ambassadors, plural, @ampcoil.com. And there also is, if you go to ampcoil.com/events, that's on the event page. So you can see that email that's in print there. And this is the thing I forgot. I was going to say, AmpCoil, we're starting to add some more options for financing our technology. So we've always worked with a bank called Time Investment Bank, and now we're working with a company called FlexBuy, which is really great. People get an option to finance based on your credit score. You're going to be offered 20 different options from 20 different small private banks with different interest rates based on your credit score. And they're really good. Some of the rates I've seen for people with a score above 700 are like $209 a month for 48 months, no down payment. So it's easy, and it's financed in a day. So it's another option, depending on, all your things. So you'll see more news about that. And then we also have added PayPal, 0 interest for 6 months in the shopping cart at ampcoil.com. So that's another new thing. If you just want to take 6 months, you want 0 interest in the cart. So it's an easy way to check out. You don't even have to talk to anybody. So that's another new little addition. We'll have some more stuff coming as we close. I think we're going to bring this down to a close. We'll ohm it up here. We'll do a little, let's rub the hands together just for a second. Let's go ahead and feel a little energy between the hands. Get close, far away, or a little piezoelectricity. Let's go ahead and move your hands forward. Send it right to your Zoom screen. See if you can feel pressure from anybody else on the other side of Zoom. I can. Thank you guys for being here. Love you so much. I'm gonna unmute everybody more. Let's unmute. How do we do this?
Thank you.
Yes. Bye, everybody. Love ya.
Bye.
That's all unmute. Okay, there we go. Bye, team.
Thank you.
Bye.